Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. This week I'm joined by Matt Hall, who is an online business strategist, and we met in LA.
What a place to meet.
I know, and I do like sometimes to just go back and work out, where I've met someone, and obviously that's very memorable. So
I think, when was it? It was a few weeks ago.
It was.
Just about remember.
And I was talking about being on LA on the show as well, so it was super, super topical. But I think it is interesting to talk about how you've met someone, because it goes to show how easily everything's connected. And, we've just been chatting about what a small world it is and who knows who and everything. And it is really interesting. And
I think it's a really important thing as well that I've been reflecting on recently. So at the start of this year, I had a goal, which was like at least once a month, I'm going to go to something in person. We're currently in June at the time of recording, and I have done more than one every month. And we were talking over lunch just now about how I feel like it's been 15 years of failing and like 6 weeks of suddenly that compound effect where everything's coming together. And I think one of the biggest things is going to things like LA, getting in person, getting to events. And I just want to really reiterate that to anyone that's listening right now, really reflect on that. How, in this online space where we think just showing up on social media and being on a podcast, how much are you going to these new environments and that thing where you're in the room with somebody? Because I would really recommend you increase that. If you want to get more visible, if you want to, get your brand more known, there's no substitute.
I totally agree. And I think when I look back, when I've slowed that side of things down, you see the gap in your pipeline a bit further down the line, or the gap in opportunities. So
I think in-person stuff and mentors, every time I'm doing less of those two things, my momentum slows down, my energy's not as good. Because again, it's that thing we were saying about when you're just in the same office with the same team, it can just get you can just find it, getting out of that, going into a new environment changes your energy, changes your outlook. So I think mentors and in-person stuff, they're two hacks if you want to grow. And if you want to, if you want to be growing your visibility, I guess, and getting more known.
So let's talk about your visibility then, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that you've done. And I want to hear about what you think's worked well for you and what's working really well for you now. But let's go a little bit back in time, because you've had some interesting TV appearances, haven't you?
Oh, God.
Come on, tell us.
Okay, so there's the reality TV, which is a show called Love Triangle. Interestingly, so this is the thing, I think often if you haven't done telly, people see people that have been on TV and people with bigger social media followings and think, oh, it's just so much easier for them because people are going to be like, oh, I'll work with you because you've been on TV and so on. Now, obviously, with everything, there is an upside, and there has been upsides to doing things like reality TV. I was also on a show called Steph's Back Lunch from,
I've been on Steph's Back Lunch.
Yeah, Steph McGovern. She's from your neck of the woods.
Let me tell you a story about Steph McGovern.
Do the story now.
We were talking about this over lunch. I said, I'll wait until we're recording.
Yeah.
So I've been on Steph's Back Lunch a few times, and Steph has very kindly donated some clothing to SmartWorks Newcastle, which is the charity that I chair. So she's awesome, and obviously she's a local lass, so we've got that connection. And I was on a flight down to Heathrow a couple of days ago, and I'd come off the plane, and it was a rammed flight, and I was in a window seat. And I always have that thing, you can't get up and go to the toilet when the flight's 40 minutes. Just wait till you get there. Yeah. So, of course, women's toilet, always super busy, which it was. So I was in this queue to go to the toilet, and she came out of the cubicle that I was going in, and we did that thing where we're like, hi, but it was kind of like, do we stop and have a chat? But there's this big queue of people, and I'm about to go in the toilet, and I really needed to go to the toilet. And then ideal. I kind of forgot about it, because also I didn't have my glasses on, and my sight's not very good at the moment. So I was like, was that her? I think that was her. So then the day after, I was on the flight back. I was sat at the airport, and I thought, I'm just going to message her on Instagram. And I just messaged her. I think I replied to one of her stories where I was like, oh, she definitely looked like that when I saw her. That was 100% her. So I replied, and I was like, I am sure I went into the cubicle that you came out of at Heathrow Airport. And I woke up this morning, and she'd replied in all capital letters, I was sure that was you, loads of exclamation marks.
So you've done the same thing.
Yeah, and she said, we both looked at each other like we were going to have a chat, but then there was this massive queue, and it was really awkward because you were about to go. So anyway, we had a bit of crack at that.
You had the same moment, yeah.
Yes, but you were, what did they used to call it, a lunch mate?
Yeah. So I was on the show kind of once every fortnight, and it was just a small section where they would come to you.
Imagine if you were on when I was on. That would be so surreal.
And I would have loved that.
That would be so funny.
And I did have some friend, I've got a friend who's an influencer, Shabazz, who was on, and he was on a different day. I always used to miss people that I knew. But it was a really good experience, was that, and it was great just to be around live TV and seeing how it works, and it was a really good experience. The love triangle thing was very different because obviously that was, for those who don't know, a dating show that's very toxic. If you think Married at First Sight, it's a very...
Married at First Sight.
Well, people love watching it. It's very different when you're on something like that.
Well, I've still not seen it. I'm going to watch it. I am going to go back and find it.
Okay, well, I won't comment on it. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. But I think when it comes to visibility and building your brand, so there is one thing which is, yeah, it can open some doors and it can help with PR and things like that. But actually, when it comes to social media and your algorithm and things like that, remember, like, yes, having a bigger audience can be useful, but really it's about having a loyal, engaged audience that love what you're about and are aligned with what it is that you do. Now, I help people start businesses online, and I've now got thousands of people that follow me just because they've seen me on a reality TV show and they just thought I'm a bit of a nice guy, but they've got zero interest in what I talk about now. So what that can do is really impact your algorithm, because you show your audience stuff and they don't engage with it. You know, the social media platform goes, well, this is a rubbish piece of content. So I think it's really important to recognise, and it's that thing of that comparing yourself and not thinking, oh, well, they've got it easy because of X. Like, actually, I've considered starting again from scratch with a new platform, just looking for my ideal clients to, you know, be following me and engaging.
That's interesting.
I think it's important, if you're going to do telly, what's the purpose? Like, what sort of show is it? And is it going to enhance your brand in the right ways, or is it potentially going to work against it? Because actually, it sort of worked against mine a little bit.
I've got so many questions to ask you from that. First of all, how did you get into the TV in the first place for both Steph's Packed Lunch and The Love Triangle?
Okay, so they were both the same. On both, it was a producer DM'd me on Instagram. So again, there's something in that as well about building a personal brand. You know, because if you go back 20 years ago, getting on TV, you'd have to, you know, have a CV that you send off to casting directors and so on. Whereas now, it's almost like you've got a CV online. If you're consistent with your content and your personal branding, those TV producers are always on the lookout for the right fit for their show. And they get to see, if you're putting your personality out there, your views, your beliefs, they get to give you a mini audition before they even contact you.
And how many followers did you have at that point?
Probably 14,000, something like that.
At that point?
Yes, this is a couple of years ago. We've just hit 18,000, so it's not... So I had a fair number, but I'd been on social media for a long time building my brand.
And is Instagram your main platform?
Instagram with a little bit of Facebook, really. And I think that's another thing, is not trying, when you're in the earlier days of building, not trying to be on everything. It's all this, get on every platform, post 100 times a day, 7 days a week. It's like, yeah, that would be great, but as a personal brand where you might be just you building a business or you and one other person, it's just not realistic.
I agree. And I think sometimes as well, it's not being too wedded to a certain platform. So for me, LinkedIn's always been good for me.
Yep.
And if I was to go back 10 years, Twitter was really good for me at that point in time as well. Whereas now I know it's quite toxic, but I do still like Twitter in terms of breaking news. There's always good stuff on there. It's quick. But I don't really post on there. I'm a lurker on there. And now I prefer Instagram, even though my audience is quite small on there. But I would say it's quite engaged. So if I ever post anything in terms of something we're promoting or some sort of call to action, I always get high levels of engagement from doing that on Instagram, which is interesting because my audience is about a third of what I've got on LinkedIn.
Wow, okay.
So again, what you were saying before around having the right people that are following you.
That's huge.
So
That's
huge.
Interesting. And in terms of, you know, if you want to get a result from those social media platforms, I just think that idea of just picking one or two is going to be beneficial because you can do them really well.
Exactly.
Rather than, because every platform rewards different styles of content, right? So if you're trying to be great at live video and you're trying to be great at reels and carousels and picture posts and all these different styles of content across all these different platforms, what you'll find quite often is you're doing loads of stuff average. Yeah. And I've got a bit of a motto that I say all the time with my clients, which is do less better.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that because I think entrepreneurs, we're quite creative, we have 1,000,001 ideas, and again, we can end up doing lots of things average. Yeah. So I think it's the same principle with social media, be on less platforms, but do them really well.
And do you do all your own social content?
So just recently, we've taken on the amazing Beth, I'm going to shout her out, Beth J Create is a business name. She was a client that came and bought one of my courses. So I have a course called Online Business Mastery, and that is very much teaching you from day one, before you've even got an idea of what your business is going to be. It talks you through how to come up with the concept and then right through to making money online. And she signed up to that course just last September, and immediately we were like, she's so talented at sort of social media content creation. So she'll create things like our carousel posts and things like that. But she actually has like a master's in graphic design and stuff.
Amazing.
So she's really knows her stuff. And we were like, you're so good, we need to bring you on board. So if you ever message me or any engagement like that, it's all me. I reply to all my own messages and things like that. But and I do a lot of content myself, but she just brings in some of the polished stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you need both the polished stuff and the real raw documentation, content, sort of stuff. And I'm quite good at just being me in the moment, sharing ideas and thoughts. But then I think having that nice professional branding is useful as well.
And then having both of those approaches means that you can be more consistent, that you can get more volume out. Because I noticed that you post a lot, and I'm always thinking, oh God, wish I'd thought. We were just talking before about how many pictures you took when we were in LA, and I'm like seeing all these pictures now, like, yeah, I should have done that.
Oh yeah, I'm still repurposing from LA.
Too right, because that's really sensible, sound advice, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so the TV stuff, interesting. What else are you doing or have done that's working well for you visibility-wise? Because I know you've got the podcast.
I've got 2 podcasts now. One podcast I've had for, I think, probably 6 or 7 years now. That was like the catalyst to a lot of the coaching I do today. Is it just started off as a podcast that was a bit of a hobby, and it was very much a podcast about just helping people and having inspirational conversations and things like that. And then it got to a point where there's only so much you can do with a podcast if you really want to help people. So organically I felt, because I've had a business in a totally different, it was like a live entertainment business that I've had 15 years. So it was never do a podcast to create a business. It was just more do a podcast because I enjoy it, and it grew into a business. And we went on to break a Guinness World Record with that.
With the podcast? Oh, tell us about that.
That was longest live audio stream. So we basically did a podcast for 53 hours non-stop.
Oh my God.
That's an interesting experience.
How did you go to the toilet? How did
so
you
there
eat?
were certain rules where as long as you were back within a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, I can't remember now, but there were certain guidelines. As long as you stayed within them, you could go and have a wee or whatever.
Were you not really tired?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, you're just drinking coffee all the way through it.
So actually, we did have a strategy to it, which was, so we started, I think, on the Friday at like 8 a.m. And we just drank water up until probably 10 p.m. that night. So we ate nothing. We didn't have, because obviously what you're going to have is when you start the caffeine, you're going to have then highs and lows. When you bring in like carbohydrates and things, you're going to have the crash. So then the first thing we ate was just like protein and veg, no carbohydrate. So we had a proper strategy to maintaining and managing energy levels. But yeah, we broke the world record. That's very much an interview style podcast, just like this, where I bring on inspirational guests in business and self-development.
And where did you come up with the idea to do the Guinness World Record? Like, where did that come from?
It was the 1 year anniversary since we launched the show. When we launched the show, we got into the overall Apple podcast charts. We peaked at 21. And that's not just in like a business chart or, the categories.
Whole chart.
The whole lot. Like, we was above Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and all these,
Get loads of screenshots.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's going
Still using
up the chart.
that every day for the promoting. But yeah, so we had a really strong launch, which again, we were strategic about, and we really wanted a big launch. When it came to the 1 year anniversary, I was like, how do we do something mad and mark that 1 year anniversary? And we also raised money for like a brain tumour charity and things like that close to our heart. So we just wanted to, because the whole thing is inspiring others to really push themselves. And it's kind of like you've got to lead by example, really. Haven't you? You can't be telling everyone else to do it and you just like having a Twix and a coffee. So
that was 53 hours?
Yeah, I think just over. Yeah.
And did you like aim for that, or were you just
the current record at the time I think was 52.
Right.
So we were like, we need to at least do an hour. I'll be really honest.
So anyone wanting to beat that needs to go for 50.
Somebody already has. I'm fuming. And we held it for years. So that was 2020 or 21. Right. And it was like last year or the year before. Someone else has done it. But I'll be honest, I'm going to call him out. I've never said this on a podcast or anywhere before. So I was doing it with my cousin at the time. And we got to the 53. He was like, I'm so happy. Let's get. And I was like, Dan, I can keep going here. Because, you know, it was like Sunday morning. The worst bit is the late nights going into like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. That's when it gets weird, especially the second night of still being up at 3 a.m. But then when you get to Sunday morning and it's lunchtime and then the sun's out, I was like, let's just go for a few hours because we're good now. I reckon we'd have done, I could have probably gone 60 odd. I honestly believe that.
Would you do it again, or kind of done that now, haven't you?
I would do it again, yeah.
Yeah.
I may do it again. There's your exclusive.
Watch this space.
Possibly, yeah.
So you've got another podcast as well?
My other podcast is called Online Business Mastery, and that's a solo show, because what I was finding is the interview style is really good to get different points of view, collaborate with great people, and I think you get that with podcasts. There's, again, in terms of a tip for visibility, I think you end up building relationships with people that you just probably wouldn't have done had you not have invited them on your show. Yeah. So I think that's really good. But the other side of it is, you know, if you are building a personal brand, if you are just the host of a show, quite often you adopt the interviewer style. You're not as much giving the value to your audience. You're relying on the guest to bring it, which is why I started this other show, which is just 20-minute episodes once a week, and it's just little bite-sized chunks of kind of guidance on building an online business.
Nice. I think that's nice, and obviously it complements everything that you're focused on at the moment, so that's perfect. And you know, my shows are only 20 minutes as well, and I think that's a nice length for people. It's not too much of a commitment, and you can make it really high value and really focused. What else is working for you visibility wise?
Well, we kind of covered the getting out to live events. Yeah. If you was to pinpoint me on one, I would say it's that. I really would. I think getting to places and getting known in those spaces where your ideal target audience are hanging out is huge. And I think that's where, again, for a lot of businesses, getting really clear. I know not everybody does it, but get really clear on an ideal client avatar. So when you really understand who they are and what's the events they're going to. Like I heard Nick James speak about this at Expert Empires. He said when he was starting out, trying to get to that first kind of six-figure, in particular, that period, he was like, rather than just being a marketeer for any business, he specifically focused on life coaches. And what that meant was he could just fill his diary with where are all the events and the networking events where there's life coaches. Then when he's in the room grabbing a cup of coffee, networking, and he goes, what do you do? And they're like, I'm a life coach. I've been going for 6 months, struggling to get clients, but I'm loving it. What do you do? He goes, I help life coaches get clients. It's amazing. Like, you know what I mean? It's such an obvious thing, but I don't think a lot of us do it. I've really doubled down on that this year, and it's paying huge dividends now. So I really want to emphasise that. Also, I know it's kind of controversial. Some people don't love it, but general outreach on social media. I don't like that word, but ultimately, outreach to me is just about being clear about who are the people you want to help and serve, and then just going looking for them online, and importantly, not selling to them.
So what are you saying to them then?
So I will literally just find some people. I will, and also there's things like going in social media groups like Facebook groups where you can just join the conversation and just be a good person that has opinions and you know, things of value you can chat about and just chat. And I think that is the key. I think if your content is on point, if your bio is very clear about who you are and what you do, I don't like the idea that you've then got to go into the DMs and go, hey, just letting you know, I'm an online business strategist. How's your business going?
We know.
Like, no. Like, I'd rather talk about, are you a cat or a dog person? Or, you know, like, are you a night owl? Just chat about real stuff. I heard the analogy once about, like, if you're a personal trainer, like, physically in the gym, you just kind of got to ask, who's going to get more clients? The one who serves their existing clients and then goes to the staff room and eats his chicken and broccoli or whatever they eat. Sorry, a bit of a stereotype, but you know who you are. Or the one that's there at the reception that's chatting to all the other members and just generally chatting to people. Like, obviously they're going to get more. And that's the concept that I think of when I'm doing social media.
And going back to what you were saying about going to events, obviously you host your own as well, don't you? How's that?
Yes, I do.
How's that been for you?
Tickets are available right now.
We'll pop a link to those in the show notes.
It's been a great experience for learning. I think out of everything I do, it is probably still the thing I enjoy the most. So my background is performing, and it kind of brings together all my passions. Like, I get to be live on stage.
At your events?
I have been known to a little bit. Excellent. Yeah, I'm not the best singer, just putting it out there. But yeah, I do like it to be good energy, you know, high vibe. I don't just want it to be like a stuffy business event where everyone's in suits and giving each other business cards. That's not my vibe. However, it's been great for learning because we lost money on all the first few events and we were getting great feedback and loving it. And one of the things that's been important to me is bringing more opportunities for entrepreneurship in the north, because what I was finding is I'm always going to Birmingham or London or Brighton or America, and that's where the gold was. So like a big part of my focus was how do we make the events just as good, if not better than anything I've been to, but do it in the north and be firm on that and make it affordable for people.
Yours are in Leeds, aren't they?
In Leeds, right. Leeds City Centre at the Hilton Hotel. So we have had to make them, you know, we have had to put the price up a little bit, but they're still more affordable than any events I've been to. One of the things I learned about the last event is we had too many speakers. So again, everything's like learning and you improve as you go. So the next one, there's going to be a lot more time for like processing what we learn. There's going to be a lot more time for genuinely connecting and networking with each other, and not just all the value being on stage. I think that's key, is make sure there's a lot of value in the room and having the space and the time to find that value rather than just taking notes from, you know, whoever's talking.
Yeah, and that's great, isn't it? Because you can observe and reflect and then refine it and make sure that it is better next time, and you're kind of building on it and adding value. And I love what you're saying about having events in the north, because I'm really passionate about Newcastle and the northeast, and I'm always trying to promote events that are here as well. And I totally get that. You know, there was been times in my life where I've just literally been going up and down to London all the time, and it's frustrating. So actually, you know, it does kind of fall on people like us actually to go, come on, let's do more stuff in the north that then, you know, creates opportunities for people within our region. What else? Because you've got something exciting coming up that you're working on at the moment, haven't you?
Well, we're relaunching the membership, and I may be writing a book potentially, which we're going to talk more about, because I know that's your forte. So they're the next two things. Do you know, something I've really learned about getting around people, that I think it's important to get around people that are a few steps ahead of you, right? That are just sort of on a similar path, but a few steps ahead. And I think one thing that I've noticed is they do things that make them an authority in their industry. So writing a book, I think, is a must to do that.
Totally agree.
But the other thing is they come up with ideas and they execute immediately. And I think that's one of the things I've really recognised, that is the difference between those who are making real progress and getting where they want in life and those who are feeling frustrated that they're not where they want to be. I think there's a lot of thinking leading to overthinking, leading to overwhelm, procrastination that happens. And the people that are breaking free of that are going, I don't need to make the perfect idea. It doesn't need to be, I don't need 100% certainty that this is going to work out. But when I have an idea, I'm going to act on it immediately and then learn through doing.
Exactly what you were just saying about your event. Exactly.
And that's it. And if I waited for the perfect event, I still wouldn't have done my first one yet. As it happens, we're on our 5th event. The last one was our first sellout. This is selling tickets quicker than any other event before it, because we've learned through doing, not trying to come up with the perfect plan. So for me, it looks like, and it is, a case of I'm running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We've just done our biggest sort of course launch. We did just over £41,000 in revenue on the launch. Nice. Then 2 weeks later, we did another launch and did nearly another £30,000 on the launch. Now I'm relaunching the membership. I'm writing a book. It looks like a bit crazy, but actually when you've built the foundations and then you just adopt that mentality of we'll learn through doing, I think there's a real confidence that comes from that, going, you know, it's that thing of fail fast, fail forward. It's that kind of stuff. Like, we'll learn whatever. So rather than thinking and planning and talking and thinking about talking and all that, just go.
Just do it.
Just go. Yeah. And as a result, and I want to put this on the record as well, I've not used AI to write this book at all. I started writing the book about a week ago, and I think I'm comfortably coming up to about 50% done.
Amazing.
It's about making money without being a dick. That alpha male standing in front of Lamborghinis, all the bro marketing. There's a lot of that out there. And as a guy myself, I want to kind of be the antidote of that. I just want to be, look, you can be a normal person. I haven't got a rags to riches story and any of that, but I've still created a life that I'm really proud of and that I enjoy. And I just want to pass those lessons forward to other ordinary people that don't identify with these big personalities.
Sounds awesome. Matt, it's been so cool talking to you. I've really loved our chat. If anyone watching or listening hasn't come across you before, where's the best place for them to find you?
I would say follow me on Instagram at Matt Hall Official. And I would say, please do, actually drop me a follow now. I would say, do follow me and drop me a DM saying you've listened to this chat, because kind of coming full circle, and it's been a theme I've kept coming back to throughout this chat, is connect with people, have a conversation. Don't just become somebody that gets into this habit of listening to podcasts, hearing bits of inspiration, and then it's what I call shelf development instead of self-development, right? You're just getting more books, more courses, listening to more audio, and actually go, if there's anything I've said today that you resonate with, or you feel that, we could work together, collaborate, or I could help you, reach out to me. And I think get into the habit of doing that, not just with me, but anytime you listen to a guest, actually follow them, drop them a message saying, Matt, I'm taking your advice, I'm dropping you that message, and we'll have a chat. And it is me that answers as well, so we can genuinely have a chat.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, it would be mint if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favourite platform. See you next week.